Donal Kenny by John Keegan Casey. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. Come, piper, play the shaftscan reel, or else the lasses on the heather, and Mary, lay aside your wheel, until we dance once more together at a fair and pattern oft before, of reels and jigs we've tripped full many, but ne'er again this loved old floor will feel the foot of Donal Kenny. Softly she rose and took his hand, and softly glided through the measure, while, clustering round, the village band looked half in sorrow, half in pleasure. Warm blessings flowed from every lip, as ceased the dancer's airy motion. O blessed Virgin, guide the ship which bears bold Donal o'er the ocean. Now God be with you all, he sighed, adown his face the bright tears flowing. God guard you well, avick, they cried, upon the strange path you are going. So full his breast he scarce could speak, with burning grasp the stretched hands taking, he pressed a kiss on every cheek, and sobbed as if his heart was breaking. Boys, don't forget me when I'm gone, for sake of all that days passed over, the days you spent on heath and bourne, with Donal, Rhoda, the rattling rover, Mary, Agra, your soft brown eye, has willed my fate, he whispered lowly, another holds thy heart good-bye. Heaven grant you both its blessings holy, a kiss upon her brow of snow, a rush across the moonlit meadow, whose broom-clad hazels, trembling slow, the mossy boreen wrapped in shadow, away o'er Tully's bounding rill, and far beyond the Inny river, one cheer on Carrick's rocky hill, and Donal Kenny's gone forever. End of Donal Kenny. This recording is in the public domain. The Drynan Dhun by Robert Dwyer Joyce. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. By road and by river the wild birds sing, o'er mountain and valley the dewy leaves spring, the gay flowers are shining, gilt o'er by the sun, and fairest of all shines the Drynan Dhun, the wrath of the fairy, the ruin hoar, with white silver splendour it decks them all o'er, and down in the valleys where merry streams run, how sweet smell the blossoms of the Drynan Dhun. Ah, well I remember the soft spring day I sat by my love 'neath its sweet scented spray, the day that she told me her heart I had won, beneath the white blossoms of the Drynan Dhun. The streams they were singing their gladsome song, the soft winds were blowing the wildwoods among, the mountains shone bright in the red setting sun, as we sat 'neath the blossoms of the Drynan Dhun. 'Tis my prayer in the morning, my dream at night, to sit thus again by my heart's dear delight, with her blue eyes of gladness, her hair like the sun, and her bright pleasant smile 'neath the Drynan Dhun. End of the Drynan Dhun. This recording is in the public domain. Wild Geese by Rosa Mulholland. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. I had to sail across the sea, a brave white bird went forth from me. My heart was hid beneath his wing. O strong white bird, come back in spring. I watched the wild geese rise and cry across the flaming western sky. Their winnowing pinions clove the light, then vanished, and came down the night. I laid me low, my day was done. I longed not for the morrow's sun, but closely swathed in swoon of sleep, forgot to hope, forgot to weep. The moon, through veils of gloomy red, a warm yet dusky radiance shed all down our valley's golden stream, and flushed my slumber with a dream. Her mystic torch lit up my brain, my spirit rose and lived again, and followed through the windy spray that bird upon its watery way. O wild white bird, O wail for me! My soul hath wings to fly with thee. On foam waves, lengthening out afar, we'll ride toward the western star. O'er glimmering plains, through forest gloam, to track a wanderer's feet I come. Mid lonely swamp, by haunted brake, I'll pass unfrightened for his sake. Alone afar his footsteps roam, the star's his roof, the tent his home. Sawest thou what way the wild geese flew to sunward through the thick night dew? Carry my soul where he abides, and pierce the mystery that hides his presence, and through time and space look with mine eyes upon his face. Beside his prairie fire he rests, all feathered things are in their nests. What strange wild bird is this, he saith, still fragrant with the ocean's breath? Perch on my hand, thou briny thing, and let me stroke thy shy wet wing. What message in thy soft eye thrills? I see again my native hills, and vale, and river's silver streak, the mist upon the blue, blue peak, the shadows grey, the golden sheaves, the mossy walls, the russet eaves. I greet the friends I've loved and lost. Do all forget? No tempest tossed, that braved for me the ocean's foam. Some heart remembers me at home. Ere spring's return, I will be there, thou strange sea fragrant messenger. I wake and weep, the moon shines sweet. O dream too short, O bird too fleet. End of The Wild Geese. This recording is in the public domain.
Outside by Francis Wynne, from the Book of Irish Poetry Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Chad Horner from Ballyclare in County Antrim, Northern Ireland, situated in the north-east of the island of Ireland. Outside, a shining pathway of light slopes down from the half-closed door. Through the darkness on either hand it glimmers, golden and wide, a fair bridge spanning the night, and the dread desolation o'er, stretching to me where I stand forgotten, forlorn, outside. If I dared to turn my feet away from the chill and the gloom, if I followed yon radiant track with eager and noiseless tread, should I find her, my only sweet, in some fragrant, fire-lit room, her soft dress shadowy black, and the glow on her bent bright head? Perhaps if I only dread, she would not bid me begone. Perhaps she would smile as of yore, and be kind and forget to chide. Perhaps if she knew how I cared, I will go, I will seek her anon. Alas, they have shut the door, and I am alone outside. Francis Wynne. End of Outside. This recording is in the public domain.
To an Isle in the Water by William Butler Yeats. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Shy one, shy one, shy one of my heart, she moves in the firelight, pensively apart. She carries in the dishes and lays them in a row. To an isle in the water with her I would go. She carries in the candles and lights the curtained room, shy in the doorway and shy in the gloom, and shy as a rabbit, helpful and shy. To an isle in the water with her would I fly. End of To an Isle in the Water. This recording is in the public domain.
An Old Song Resung by William Butler Yeats, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. An Old Song Resung. Down by the Sally Gardens my love and I did meet. She passed the Sally Gardens with little snow-white feet. She bid me take love easy as the leaves grow on the tree. But I, being young and foolish, with her would not agree. In a field by the river my love and I did stand, and on my leaning shoulder she laid her snow-white hand. She bid me take life easy as the grass grows on the weirs. But I was young and foolish, and now am full of tears. End of an Old Song Resung by William Butler Yeats. This recording is in the public domain.
Killary by Herbert Trench. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. When all her brothers in the house were lying asleep, my love ran before me under the bend of boughs, till we looked down from above on the long loch, on the Brovin loch, on the lone loch of Killary. Together we ran down the copse and stood in the rain, as close as the birds that sleep in the soft tops of the tree that comes and goes when the young moon and the morn moon is on Killary. In tremblings of the water, chill swans we saw preen their coat, biting their plumes, with stooped bill and quivering neck, afloat on the brown shade, on the deep shade, the shade of hills on Killary. Why pale, my beloved, now, with the first light 'gins to beat? No sun of autumn is rich as thou, and honey after thy feet shall rise from the grass, from the wet of the grass, the brow of the grass over Killary. My grief it is only that thou and I must part like swans of the flood that rise up sorrowful into the sky. For one goes over the wood, and one over sea from Killary. Ah, the little raindrops that hang on the bough, together they may run, but never again shall I and thou meet here in the morning sun. We shall meet no more, we must kiss no more, we shall meet no more by Killary. End of Killary. This recording is in the public domain.
The Wood Pigeon by Katharine Tynan, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. The Wood Pigeon. The skies were laden, the snowflakes were falling, no blackbird or linnet was courting or calling, but the wood dove's sweet moaning was heard in the distance, and her song all of love came in dulcet persistence. Oh, what though the nests were all flooded with water, and the cold eggs would give them no sweet son or daughter, she was dreamy with pleasure for her true love beside her, and her day was as gold as though young leaves did hide her. O love, sang the wood dove, the sweet bird of summer, it were death, it were madness, were my love a roamer. But love, true and faithful, what power has cold weather to still our wild songs, love, since we are together? Then I said to my true love is enough, love, and how wise is the wood dove who learns that lore off, love. This our charm for the winter, and when the winds cry, love, and when in the grave on your heart I still lie, love. End of The Wood Pigeon by Katharine Tynan. This recording is in the public domain. Forgiveness by A.E. from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Forgiveness. At dusk the window panes grew gray. The wet world vanished in the gloom. The dim and silver end of day Scarce glimmered through the little room. And all my sins were told. I said such things to her who knew not sin, The sharp ache throbbing in my head, The fever running high within. I touched with pain her purity. Sin's darker sense I could not bring. My soul was black as night to me. To her I was a wounded thing. I needed love no words could say. She drew me softly nigh her chair, My head upon her knees to lay, With cool hands that caressed my hair. She sat with hands as if to bless, And looked with grave ethereal eyes, Ensouled with ancient quietness, A gentle priestess of the wise. End of Forgiveness by A.E. This recording is in the public domain. Song by Arthur O'Shaughnessy from the Book of Irish Poetry, Volume 1. Recording by Larry Wilson. I made another garden, yea, for my new love. I left the dead rose where it lay, and set the new above. Why did the summer not begin? Why did my heart not haste? My old love came and walked therein, and laid the garden waste. She entered with her weary smile, just as of old. She looked around a little while, and shivered at the cold. Her passing touch was death to all, her passing look a blight. She made the white rose petals fall, and turned the red rose white. Her pale robe, clinging to the grass, seemed like a snake, that bit the grass and ground, alas, and a sad trail did make. She went up slowly to the gate, and there, just as of yore, she turned back at the last to wait, and say farewell once more. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Nature and Love by Stopford A. Brooke from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Nature and Love. When first I gave him all my love, I took the beauty of the world, wild winds and sunlight, stars above, and clouds upon the mountains furled, the life of waters and of woods, the sweetness of the flowers and grass, dreams of the sunset, joyous moods the spirit of the summer has. I filled him with their soft romance, I set my heart within its shrine. He saw the lovely countenance of nature, and then turned to mine. All I loved was given to him, all I loved was shown to me. And then that evening gray and dim, the low moon burning o'er the sea. He kissed me, I gave back his kiss, my arms were round him warm and fast. Is nature more, I cried, than this? Have I not conquered her at last? Since then he has loved, and loved so much, that in the grave men say asleep, he shall not lose my sweet wild touch through all the silence of the deep. But when the immortal passions move, shall quick rise, and with a cry run to my arms and say, O love, thou hast not forgotten, no, nor I. End of Nature and Love by Stopford A. Brooke. This recording is in the public domain.
The Little Flutes by Mrs. Dennis O'Sullivan from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. The world has slipped away and gone, like rain into the sea. What could be calling me? For songs and silver flutes are gone, the little flutes he fluted on, that will not leave me be. These northern mountains in their pride are stepping from the sea. I mind he loved the sea. Blue, lovely towers, walled in pride. I wonder now, is peace inside? Would sorrow leave me be? For in his speech you knew the south, and in his eyes the sea. The grey, green, changing sea, O island sweeter in the south, and sweet the speaking of his mouth, that will not leave me be. I mind his whistles through the dark, the tunes he piped for me, the flutes he fluted free, faint sounding as the soaring lark, soft sounding, silver flutes at dark, that will not leave me be. He surely walking in the west, and piping to the sea of Ireland, Ireland free. In Cork or Kerry, south or west, O grief of Ireland, that he rest, and leave the piping be. He's put the small flute to his mouth, the flutin calls to me. Past Wicklow hills I see his laughing eyes, that loved the south, his silver pipes that call me south, and will not leave me be. End of the Little Flutes. This recording is in the public domain.
The Penalty of Love by Sidney Royce Lysott. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. If love should count you worthy, and should deign one day to seek your door, and be your guest, pause ere you draw the bolt and give him rest, if in your old content you would remain. For not alone he enters. In his train are angels of the mist, the lonely quest, dreams of the unfulfilled and unpossessed, and sorrow, and life's immemorial pain. He wakes desires you never may forget. He shows you stars you never saw before. He makes you share with him forevermore the burden of the world's divine regret. How wise were you to open not, and yet how poor if you should turn him from the door. End of The Penalty of Love.
To Morfydd by Lionel Johnson. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. A voice on the winds, a voice on the waters, wanders and cries, "Oh, what are the winds, and what are the waters? Mine are your eyes. Western the winds are, and western the waters, where the light lies. Oh, what are the winds, and what are the waters? Mine are your eyes. Cold, cold grow the winds, and dark grow the waters, where the sun dies. Oh, what are the winds, and what are the waters? Mine are your eyes. And down the night winds, and down the night waters, the music flies. Oh, what are the winds, and what are the waters? Cold be the winds, and wild be the waters, so mine be your eyes. End of To Morfydd. This recording is in the public domain.
The Sedges by Seamus O'Sullivan. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Volume 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. I whispered my great sorrow to every listening sedge, and they bent, bowed with my sorrow, down to the water's edge. But she stands and laughs lightly to see me sorrow so, like the light winds that laughing across the water go. If I could tell the bright ones that quiet-hearted move, they would bend down like the sedges with the sorrow of love. But she stands laughing lightly, who all my sorrow knows, like the little wind that laughing across the water blows. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Can Dubh Dealish, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. Can Dubh Dealish, by Dora Sigerson. Can Dubh Dealish, beside the sea, I stand and stretch my hands to thee, across the world. The riderless horses race to shore, with thundering hoofs and shuddering, hoar-blown manes uncurled. Can Dubh Dealish, I cry to thee, beyond the world, beneath the sea, thou being dead, where hast thou hidden from the beat of crushing hoofs and tearing feet thy dear black head? God bless the woman, whoever she be, from the tossing waves will recover thee, and lashing wind. Who will take thee out of the wind and storm, dry thy wet face on her bosom warm, and lips so kind? I not to know, it is hard to pray, but I shall for this woman from day to day comfort my dead, the sports of the winds and the play of the sea. I love thee too well for this thing to be, O dear black head. End of Can Dubh Dealish. This recording is in the public domain.
The Betrayal, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Anita Sloma-Martinez. When you were weary, roaming the wide world over, I gave my fickle heart to a new lover. Now they tell me that you are lying dead. Oh, mountains, fall on me and hide my head. When you lay burning in the throes of fever, he vowed me love by the willow-margined river. Death smote you there, here was your trust betrayed. Oh, darkness, cover me, I am afraid. Yea, in the hour of your supremest trial, I laughed with him. The shadow on the dial stayed not, aghast at my dread ignorance, nor man nor angel looked at me askance. Under the mountains there is peace abiding, darkness shall be pavilion for my hiding, tears shall blot out the sin of broken faith, the lips that falsely kiss shall kiss but death. End of The Betrayal. This recording is in the public domain.
Song by Eleanor Alexander, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. He climbs his lady's tower, where sail cold clouds about the moon, and at his feet the nightingale sings, "Sir, too soon, too soon." He steals across his lady's park, he tries her secret gate, and overhead the saucy lark sings, "Sir, too late, too late." End of Song. This recording is in the public domain.
A Silent Mouth, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Sonia. A Silent Mouth, by Cathal O'Brien. O little green leaf on the bough, you hear the lark in the morn, you hear the grey feet of the wind stir in the shimmering corn, you hear, low down in the grass, the singing shee as they pass. Do you ever hear, O little green flame, my loved one calling, whispering my name? O little green leaf on the bough, like my lips you must ever be dumb, for a maiden may never speak until love to her heart says come. A mouth in its silence is sweet, but my heart cries loud when we meet, and I turn my head with a bitter sigh when the boy who has stolen my love, unheeding, goes by. I have made my heart as the stones in the street for his tread, I have made my love as the shadow that falls from his dear gold head, but the stones with his footsteps ring, and the shadow keeps following, and just as the quiet shadow goes ever beside or before, so must I go silent and lonely and loveless for evermore. End of A Silent Mouth. This recording is in the public domain.
His Home and His Own Country. From the Book of Irish Poetry Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Chad Horner from Ballyclare in County Antrim, Northern Ireland. Situated in the northeast of the province of Ulster. His home and his own country. I know not whether to laugh or cry. So greatly, utterly glad am I, for one whose beautiful, love-lit face the distance hid for a weary space has come this day of all days to me, who am his home and his own country. What shall I say who am here at rest, led from the good things up to the best? Little to my knowledge, but this I know, it was God said, love each other so. O love, my love, who hast come to me, thy love, thy home, and thy own country. Emily Hickey. End of His Home and His Own Country. This recording is in the public domain.
Bitter Serenade by Herbert Trench. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Volume 1. Recording by Larry Wilson. Fate damned you young. Death young would now frustrate you. I have but lived, as alchemists for gold, in my mad pity's flame to recreate you, heavenly one, waning cold. Dark planet to your sleepless desolations, whereto no ray serene hath ever gone. Life might have come, with my poor invocations. You might have loved and shone. The lanterns and the gondolas have vanished, gone the uproar and merry masquerade. From the lagoons the burning loves are banished, all your canal is shade. Magnolia bloom is here my only candle. White petals wash and break along the wall, while this poor lute, the lute with the scorched handle, is here to tell you all. Do you remember? But what soul remembers? I carved it from a log of quaintest tone, snatched half consumed out of a great hearth's embers. The great hearth was your own. By God, to the chords wherewith you then endowed us, something in you gave frame and strings of voice. Now you must listen in the hours allowed us. Listen, you have no choice. The very stars grow dread with tense foretelling of dawn. The bell towers darken in the sky as they would groan before they strike, revealing new day to such as I. There comes a day too merciless in clearness. Worn to the bone the stubborn must give o'er. There comes a day when to endure in nearness can be endured no more. A man can take the buffets of the tourney, but there's a hurt, lady, beyond belief, a grief the sun finds not upon his journey marked on the map of grief. Was I not bred of the same clay and vapor and lightning of the universe as you? Had I the selfsame God to be my shaper, or cracked the world in two? It cannot be, though I have not of merit, that man may hold so dear, and with such pain enfold with all the tendrils of the spirit, yet not be loved again. It cannot be that such intensest yearning, such fierce and incommensurable care, starred on your face, as though a crystal burning is wasted on the air. It cannot be I gave my soul, unfolding to you its very inmost, like a child, utterly giving faith, no jot withholding, by you to be beguiled. No, in rich Venice riotous and human, that shrinks from me to sandbanks and a sky, love such as that I bear you must be common enough. You let it die. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Wings of Love by James H. Cousins. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. I will row my boat on Mugcross Lake when the grey of the dove comes down at the end of the day. and a quiet like prayer grows soft in your eyes and among your fluttering hair. The red of the sun is mixed with the red of your cheek. I will row you, O boat of my heart, till our mouths have forgotten to speak in the silence of love, broken only by trout that spring and are gone, like a fairy's finger that casts a ring, with the luck of the world for the hand that can hold it fast. I will rest on my oars, my eyes on your eyes, till our thoughts have passed from the lake and the sky, and the rings of the jumping fish, till our ears are filled from the reeds with a sudden swish, and a sound like the beating of flails in the time of corn. We shall hold our breath until a wonderful thing is born from the songs that were chanted by bards in the days gone by. For the wild white swan shall be leaving the lake for the sky, with the curve of her neck stretched out in a silver spear. Oh, then when the creak of her wings shall have brought her near, we shall hear against a swish, and a beating of flails, and a creaking of oars, and a sound like the wind in sails, as the mate of her heart shall follow her into the air. O wings of my soul, we shall think of Angus, and Seir, and Etain, and Medea, that were changed into wild white swans, to fly round the ring of the heavens, to the dusks and the dawns, unseen by all but true lovers, till judgment day, because they had loved for love only. O love, I will say, for a woman and man, with eternity ringing them round, and the heavens above and below them. A poor thing it is to be bound to four low walls that will spill like a pedlar's pack, and a quilt that will run into holes, and a churn that will dry and crack. Oh, better than these a dream in the night, or our heart's mute prayer that O'Donoghue, the enchanted man, should pass between water and air, and say, I will change them each to a wild white swan, like the lovers Angus and Medea, and their loved ones, Seir and Etain, because they have loved for love only, and have searched through the shadows of things for the heart of all hearts, through the fire of love, and the wine of love, and the wings. End of the Wings of Love. This recording is in the public domain.
Little Mary Cassidy by Frances A. Fay. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Chad Horner from Ballyclare in County Antrim, Northern Ireland. Situated in the northeast of the island of Ireland. Little Mary Cassidy. Oh, 'tis little Mary Cassidy's the cause of all my misery, and the reason that I am not now the boy I used to be. Oh, she bates the beauties all that we read about in history, and sure half the countryside is as hot for her as me. Travel Ireland up and down, hill, village, vale and town, fairer than the Callan dawn you're looking for in vain. Oh, I'd rather live in poverty with little Mary Cassidy than emperor without her be of Germany or Spain. 'Twas at the dance at Darmoody's that first I caught a sight of her, and heard her sing the Dhun, till tears came in my eyes, and ever since that blessed hour I'm dreaming day and night of her. The devil a wink of sleep at all I get from bed to rise, cheeks like the rose in June, song like the lark in tune, working, resting, night or noon, she never leaves my mind. Oh, till singing by my cabin fire sits little Mary Cassidy, 'tis little ease or happiness I'm sure I'll ever find. What is wealth? What is fame? What is all that people fight about, to a kind word from her lips, or a love glance from her eye? Oh, though troubles throng my breast, sure they'd soon go to the right about, if I thought the curly head of her would rest there by and by. Take all I own today, kith, kin and care away, ship them all across the sea, or to the frozen zone. Leave me an orphan bare, but leave me Mary Cassidy. I never would feel lonesome with the two of us alone. Frances A. Fay. End of Little Mary Cassidy. This recording is in the public domain.
Molleen Oge by Frances A. Farth. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. Molleen Oge, my Molleen Oge, I go put on your latest brogue, and slip into your smartest gown, you rosy little rogue, for a message kind I bear to yourself from old Adair, that Pat the Piper's come around, and they'll be dancing there. Molleen dear, I'll not presume to encroach into your room, but I'd forget a fair I'd brought you from Macroom. So open, and I'll swear not one peep upon you. There, 'tis a silver net to gather at the gloss your golden hair. Molleen pet, my Molleen pet, fay, I'm fairly in a fret at the time you're titivating, Molleen. Aren't you ready yet? Now, net and gown and brogue, are you sure you're quite the vogue? But bedad, you look so lovely, I'll forgive you, Molleen Oge. End of Molleen Oge. This recording is in the public domain. The Yin Wee Luik by G. F. Savage-Armstrong. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. At the board apart she sat, and noontay this, yin noontay that, she taught wi' careless kindness, for weel I kenned her amaist heart, in as she said had little part of half thitty words she heard was meaningless, and though she seemed to shun my sight, I trusted mair her love that might, than earth's loves thegither. Then Yin Wee gentle Luik she gave, aid waited lang that Luik to have, and lang aid wait for sich anither. End of the Yin Wee Luik. This recording is in the public domain. The Shawley by G. F. Savage-Armstrong. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. Drive, bitter blast, frae loft tae sea, a little minya smirting, her ain wee Shawley's ruin my heart. Her wee bands pinned at parting, and proof the night gen win and snaw. I'll walk frae here tae Derry, the nose flood its mare cam doon, aid face it bold and merry. Noo, Charlie dearie, ben ye doon? Ye jist maun tak my Shawley, I'll wrap it tight aroon your kist, for och, the night's sae squally. Puir lad, ye'll fin it uncocoed by Granshire Shaw, says Eatie, and then her een looked up in mine, wi' a sich love and pity, wi' Shawley pressing saft and warm aroon my breast a glowing, a kiss ye flinch, a hug ye fast, a mock the squalls a blowing, yet thun as raw. Let lightnings gleam, I'll face the tempest brawly, whilst close agin my thrabbing heart I feel my love's wee Shawley. End of the Shawley. This recording is in the public domain. The Wee Lassie's First Love by G. F. Savage-Armstrong. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. I canna hear his name and hide my thought wi' ony art. I canna see him come and calm the flitterin' o' my heart. It's pain tae meet him when I walk, or meet him nae ava. I wish him aye to come tae me, I wish him aye awa. I dinna ken what's wrang wi' me, I'm vexed, I kenna why. I canna talk, I canna walk, my min's a ganged agley. I say sic foolish things at whiles, my face is scorched wi' pain. Oh, let them lave me tae mysel', I jist would be alane. I'm nae sae tall as Elsie Barnes, I hae nae een like May's, yet aft he comes frae May tae me, and near wi' Elsie strays. I canna thole tae see him laugh wi' Grace or Rose or Jean, and yet he's standing nigh my side, mair aft than ony ane. He's aye sae courteous, kin and free, wi' mon and lass and chiel. Mayhap he cares nae mair for me than jist tae wish me weel. But the keenness of his voice, and his dark blue ee, and his face and courtly grace, I think I jist could dee. End of The Wee Lassie's First Love. This recording is in the public domain.
Cotton Rushes from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Chad Horner from Ballyclare, in County Antrim, Northern Ireland, situated in the north-east of the island of Ireland. Cotton Rushes. Oh, maybe it was yesterday, or 50 years ago. Myself was risen early, on a day for cotton rushes, walking up the Brabla burn. Still the sun was low. Now I'd hear the burn run, and then I'd hear the thrushes. Young, still young, and drenching wet the grass, wet the golden honeysuckle hanging sweetly down. Here, lad, here, will ye follow where I pass, and find me cutting rushes on the mountain? Then was it only yesterday, or 50 years or so, ripping round the bog pools, high among the heather. The hook it made me hands sore, I had to leave it go. 'Twas he that cut the rushes then for me to bind together. Come, dear, come, and back along the burn. See the darling honeysuckle hanging like a crown. Quick, one kiss, sure, there's someone at the turn. Oh, we're after cutting rushes on the mountain. Yesterday, or 50 years ago. I waken out of dreams when I hear the summer thrushes. Oh, that's Brabla burn, I can hear it sing and flow. For all that's fair, I'll sooner see a bunch of green rushes. Run, burn, run, can ye mind when we were young? The honeysuckle hangs above, the pool is dark and brown. Sing, burn, sing, can ye mind the song ye sung the day we cut the rushes on the mountain? Moira O'Neill. End of Cotton Rushes. This recording is in the public domain.
Little Child, I Call Thee by Douglas Hyde. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Volume 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. From the Irish. Little child, I call thee fair, clad in hair of golden hue, every lock and ringlets falling down to almost kiss the dew. Slow grey eye and languid mien, brows as thin as stroke of quill, cheeks of white with scarlet through them. Och, it's through them I am ill. Luscious mouth, delicious breath, chalk white teeth and very small, lovely nose and little chin, white neck thin, she is swan-like all. Pure white hand and shapely finger, limbs that linger like a song. Music speaks in every motion of my sea-mew, warm and young. Rounded breasts and lime-white bosom, like a blossom touched of none, stately form and slender waist, far more graceful than the swan. Alas for me! I would I were with her of the soft-fingered palm, in Waterford to steal a kiss, or by the liss whose airs are balm. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Eileen Arun, from the Book of Irish Poetry Part 1, read for LibriVox.org, recording by Chad Horner from Ballyclare in County Antrim, Northern Ireland, situated in the northeast of the province of Ulster. Eileen Arun, after the Irish. When, like the early rose, Eileen Arun, beauty in childhood blows. Eileen Arun. When, like a diadem, buds blush around the stem, which is the fairest gem? Eileen Arun. Is it the laughing eye? Eileen Arun. Is it the timid sigh? Eileen Arun. Is it the tender tone, soft as the stringed harp's moan? Oh, it is truth alone. Eileen Arun. When, like the rising day, Eileen Arun, love sends his early ray. Eileen Arun. What makes his dawning glow changeless through joy or woe? Only the constant know. Eileen Arun. I know a valley fair, Eileen Arun. I knew a cottage there, Eileen Arun. Far in that valley shade I knew a gentle maid, flower of a hazel glade, Eileen Arun. Who in the song so sweet, Eileen Arun. Who in the dance so fleet, Eileen Arun. Dear were her charms to me, dearer her laughter free, dearest her constancy, Eileen Arun. Were she no longer true, Eileen Arun, what should her lover do? Eileen Arun. Fly with his broken chain far o'er the sounding main, never to love again, Eileen Arun. Youth must with time decay, Eileen Arun. Beauty must fade away, Eileen Arun. Castles are sacked in war, chieftains are scattered far. Truth is a fixed star, Eileen Arun. Gerald Griffin. End of Eileen Arun. This recording is in the public domain.
Song by Thomas MacDonagh, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org, recording by Elaine Conway, England. Love is cruel, love is sweet, cruel, sweet lovers sigh till lovers meet, sigh and meet, sigh and meet, and sigh again, cruel, sweet, oh sweetest pain. Love is blind, but love is sly, blind and sly. Thoughts are bold, but words are shy, bold and shy, bold and shy, and bold again. Sweet is boldness, shyness pain. End of song. This recording is in the public domain.
Now, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. For me, my friend, no graveside vigil keep, with tears that memory and remorse might fill. Give me your tenderest laughter, earthbound still, and when I die, you shall not want to weep. No epitaph for me with virtues deep punctured in marble, pitiless and chill. But when playtime is over, if you will, the songs that soothe beloved babes to sleep. No Lenten lilies on my breast and brow be laid when I am silent. Roses red and golden roses bring me here instead, that if you love or bear me, I may know. I may not know nor care when I am dead. Give me your songs and flowers and laughter now. End of Now.
Amor Fons Amoris by Edmund G. A. Holmes. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. I love all men the better, O love, for loving thee. The dear ones whom I cherish are dearer still to me. Each stranger is my kinsman, and ever for thy sake, beloved at love's bidding, new springs of love awake. I love all things the better, for loving thee the best. My thoughts of thee make deeper the glories of the west. My hopes of thee make fresher the fragrance of the spring. And when thy accents haunt me, the birds more sweetly sing. I love the whole world better, for loving thee so well. Love tells my soul the sweet, which tongue may never tell. I learn, when thou art near me, that loss is more than gain, that not a pang is wasted, that not a hope is vain. Even love, the dream, the vision, that floods the world with light, lit by the flame thy kind lest, grows more divinely bright. His beauty wins new beauty from shining through thine eyes, and when he claims my homage, he comes in thy sweet guise. Heroes polishing their glowing weapons, blowing trumpets loudly martial, a frost foggy wind with whistling darts flying, these are the sounds of music that delight at early morn. End of Amour Fons Amoris. This recording is in the public domain.
Ancient Irish Ran, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by James White. Heroes polishing their glowing weapons, blowing trumpets loudly martial, a frost foggy wind with whistling darts flying. These are the sounds of music that delight at early morn. End of Ancient Irish Ran. This recording is in the public domain. Cuchullin's Wooing, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by James White. Great-limbed and swift and beautiful past any dream he came to her, from Owen Macha through a land for gladness of the spring astir. And on the flutes of morning blown, strong joy that took for breath no pause, the song of breeze and stream and bird, the herald of his coming was. Yea, and through all her April ways, to Erin's utmost sea-girt rim, through waking seed and blade and leaf, green nature laughed for joy of him. And where he held his sun-bright course, straight sped as arrow on its flight, men thronged as to a pageant wrought by the high gods for their delight. And seeing with a fairer faith the deathless mighty ones adored, who thus unto their ulster's need had shaped at once a shield and sword. So through the singing land he passed, the peerless warden of her fame. So Lord himself of love and war, unto his fair-faced love he came. Eleanor R. Cox. End of Cuchullin's Wooing. This recording is in the public domain. Leah's Summons to Cuchullin, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by James White. Rise, champion of Ultonia's need, from sickness freed to strength awake. All miss thee from King Connor's levy, for him thy heavy slumber break. Behold, his steel-clad shoulders glare, his trumpets blare for battle press. Behold his chariots sweep the glen, he marshals men as though for chess. His red-branch knights, with spear on loop, his maiden troop, tall and serene, his vassal kings, a battle-storm, by each the form of his fair queen. Look forth, the winter hath begun, now one by one its marvels mark. Behold, for it beseems thee well, its long cold spells, its hueless dark. This rest inglorious is not good, weak lassitude from wanton strife. Such long repose is drunkenness, such sleep no less than death in life. This trance, as of a toping churl, with mighty ardour hurl away. Forth from thy bed of impotence, leap, champion prince, to front the fray. End of Leah's summons to Cuchulainn. This recording is in the public domain.
Where is the Sweetest Music? By George Sigerson. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. From the Dean of Lismore's book. Noble news of song and valour, bear I ballads fought within. Little need I who may hearken, if my song be heard of Finn. Men were gay in Golden Eyin, hill and hall in, far and wide. Feast was spread and music flowing, and we saw our Finn reside. Ossian staunch and Dermot stately sate by the way, greatly strong, and their friends to feast and foray. Ancient Conan, Oscar young. Speak, ye champion chiefs rejoicing, rang the voice of Finn around. Tell me each in answer meetest, where is sweetest music found? There's one music fit for farming, give me gaming, Conan cried. Strong his hand for crash of combat, but his head was sense denied. Song of swords, for war unsheathing, with quick breathing came the word. Throng of blows when falling fleetest, seemed the sweetest Oscar heard. There is music more endearing, dark-eyed Dermot did declare. Naught comes nigh the voice's cadence, when the maiden soft and fair. Sweet a song at dawning dewy, said Mac Luay, sharp of spear, when the bounding dogs are crying, and we race the flying deer. This is song, and this is music, spoke our lofty leader old. Blowing breeze mid moving banners, and an army 'neath their gold. Then I fear no bardic passion, Ossian, said our captain strong, with my faithful Fianna round me. This to me is harp and song. End of Where is the Sweetest Music? This recording is in the public domain.
The Giant Walker from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Chad Horner from Ballyclare in County Antrim, Northern Ireland. Situated in the northeast of the island of Ireland. The Giant Walker. This and the succeeding poem, The Washer of the Ford, are not literal versions, although they are the substance of original legends, and are given as specimens of the supernatural figures in Celtic romance. They are from Sir Samuel Ferguson's epic poem of Congal, the Giant Walker, or the Burich, and Coita Rachna, the churl with the grey cloak, is a familiar figure in both Highland and Irish legend, and has also been made the subject of a poem by James Clarence Mangan, under the title of The Churl with the Grey Coat. The Washer of the Ford is paraphrased with considerable literalness from a passage in Macreath's Wars of Turlough, the apparition appearing to the clan Brian Row. Around the mound of sighs they filled the woody sided vale, but no sweet sleep their eyes refreshed that night, for all the night around their echoing camp was heard continuous from the hills a sound as of the tramp of giant footsteps, but so thick the white mist lay around, none saw the walker save the king. He, starting at the sound, called to his foot his fierce red hound, athwart his shoulders cast a shaggy mantle, grasped his spear, and through the moonlight passed, alone up dark Benvolli's heights, toward which, above the woods, with sound as when at close of eve the noise of falling floods is borne to shepherd's ear remote on stilly upland lawn, the steps along the mountain side with hollow fall came on, Fast beat the hero's heart, and close down crouching by his knee trembled the hound, while through the haze, huge as through mists at sea, the week-long sleepless mariner descries some mountain cape. Wreck infamous rise on his lee. Appeared a monstrous shape, striding, impatient, like a man much grieved who walks alone, considering of a cruel wrong. Down from his shoulders thrown, a mantle, skirted stiff with soil, splashed from the miry ground. At every stride against his calves struck with as loud rebound as makes the mainsail of a ship brought up along the blast, when with the coil of all its ropes it beats the sounding mast. So striding fast the giant passed. The king held fast his breath, motionless save his throbbing heart, and still and chill as death. Stood listening while a second time the giant took the round of all the camp. But when at length, for the third time, the sound came up, and through the parting haze, a third time huge and dim, rose out the shape, the valiant hound sprang forth and challenged him. And forth, disdaining that a dog should put him so to shame, sprang Congal, and essayed to speak. "Dread shadow, stand, proclaim what wouldest thou, that thou thus all night around my camp shouldest keep the troublous vigil, banishing the wholesome gift of sleep from all our eyes who, though inured to dreadful sounds and sights by land and sea, have never yet in all our perilous nights lain in the ward of such a guard." The shape made answer none, but with stern wafture of his hand went angrier striding on, shaking the earth with heavier steps. Then Congal on his track sprang fearless. "Answer me, thou churl," he cried, "I bid thee back." But while he spoke the giant's cloak around his shoulders grew like to a black bulged thunder cloud, and sudden out there flew from all its angry swelling folds with uproar unconfined. Direct against the king's pursuit a mighty blast of wind loud flapped the mantle tempest lined, while fluttering down the gale, as leaves in autumn, man and hound were swept into the vale, and heard o'er all the huge uproar through startled Dalleray. The giant went with stamp and clash, departing south away. Sir Samuel Ferguson. End of The Giant Walker. This recording is in the public domain. The Washer of the Ford by Sir Samuel Ferguson. From the Book of Irish Poetry Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Chad Horner from Ballyclare in County Antrim, Northern Ireland, situated in the northeast of the island of Ireland. The Washer of the Ford. And now at dawn, to cross the fords, hard by the royal town, the fresh, well-ordered, vigorous bands in gallant ranks drew down, when lo, a sceptre horrible, of more than human size, full in the middle of the ford took all their wondering eyes. A ghastly woman it appeared, with grey dishevelled hair, blood-draggled, and with sharp-boned arms, and fingers crooked and spare. Dabbing and washing in the ford, where mid-leg deep she stood, beside a heap of heads and limbs that swam in oozing blood, where on and on a glittering heap of raiment rich and brave, with swift pernicious hands she scooped and poured the crimson wave. And though the stream approaching her ran tranquil, clear and bright, sand gleaming between verdant banks, a fair and peaceful sight, downward the blood-polluted flood rode turbid, strong and proud, with heady eddy, dangerous whirls and surges dashing loud. All stood aghast, but Keelik cried, "Advance me to the bank, I'll speak the hag." But back instead his trembling bearers shrank. Then Congal from the foremost rank a spear cast forward strode, and said, "Who art thou, hideous one, and from what cursed abode? Comest thou thus in open day the hearts of men to freeze? And whose lopped heads and severed limbs and bloody vests are these?" "I am the Washer of the Ford," she answered, "and my race is of the truth, the Danann line of Magi, and my place for toil is in the running streams of Erne, and my cave for sleep is in the middle of the shell-heaped cairn of Meave, high up on hunted Knocknaree, and this fine carnage heap before me, and these silken vests and mantles which I steep. Thus in the running water are the severed heads and hands, and spear-torn scarfs and tunics of these gay-dressed gallant bands, whom thou, O Congal, leadest to death." And this the Fury said, uplifting by the cloddic locks what seemed a dead man's head. "Is thine own head, O Congal?" Wherewith she rose in air, and vanished from the warriors, leaving the river bare of all but running water. Sir Samuel Ferguson. End of The Washer of the Ford. This recording is in the public domain.
A Dirge for King Niall of the Nine Hostages, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Haridev Tadij, Jaipur. Dhun, son of Torna, when we hosted forth afar, with Echu, son of Valor, yellow as the primrose star, I saw his tresses shine. Torna, for the fancy that compares, the crown of golden pallor, the primrose wears with Niall's hairs, a born maid should be thine. Dwyer, son of Torna, brown and lashes dusky soft, of equal arch and cluster, eyes as both flowers in a croft, or hyacinth blue. Then the carmine of his cheeks, unchanging in their lustre, not the fairy foxglove streaks, may woods with such a hue. Torna, laughter rare, red lips that ne'er, reproved with scornful blaming, hero fund in battle brunt, eclipsing all beside. A harvest moon, a fairy noon, a beacon fiercely flaming, a dragon ship he glowed and rode on war's tumultuous tide. Dhun, son of Torna, keen on keen his kerry poured, above his tresses flexen, till my grief heart high stood for Muradach's grandson great. Erin Alba now shall dread the onset of the Saxon, now that Echo's son lies dead. O black reproachful fate. Torna, Saxon's horde shall shouting come, and swarms of Lombard strangers, from the hour that Niall lay dumb, Argyle and Pict dismayed? Dhun, son of Torna, that still on Tara's tower, bright star in darkest dangers, with tresses of the iris flower, he stood, our stalwart aid. Torna, great delight, great peace it was, dear son of my affection, after thee for some high cause, in company to go. Dhun, son of Torna, hero of the shoulder white, beneath whose strong protection, host and host we faced the fight, but never fled the foe. End of A Dirge for King Niall of the Nine Hostages. This recording is in the public domain.
The Song of the Sword of Carol, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. Addressed about AD 909 to Dallan Mac More, Chief Bard to King Carol Mac Muirgan, by an unknown poet. Bright battle joy of the gale, war's great woof sharply unthreading, chieftain on chieftain beheading, sword of Carol, all hail. Oft on a foreman's soil, with kings of council forth raiding, ever a worthy one aiding, hast thou divided the spoil, still in a strong white hand pursuing thy dread, red reaping, till night's shadows were weeping o'er the Lagenian land. Many a man of might thy ravening radiance wielded, where was the shield but yielded, pierced by its venomous bite? Enna of noble bands for 40 years without sorrow brandished thee morrow by morrow, safe in his strenuous hands. Enna no mean heirloom to Dunling his son did bequeath thee, still his foeman beneath thee fell till thou broughtest him doom. Many a prince, proud mounted, possessed the ear Dermot the fierce, with thee to hew and to pierce, 16 summers had counted. Then when his powers decreased, and a mightier master was owed thee, On Muirgan Dermot bestowed thee, even at Allen's feast. 40 the years of thy sway with Muirgan, high king of Allen. Never a one, sang Dallen, passed without warfare away. Muirgan, Viking Earth, at Wexford gave thee to Carol. Thou wert his partner in peril, long as he paced yellow earth. Red was thy rallying point at Odba, the field of the strangers, scorner of valorous dangers, breaker of body and joint. Crimson thy edge in its stain, at Bellach moon wast thou proven. Fierce that fight as an oven angered all Alfie's plain. Round thee a goodly host at Dunochta melted asunder. Through thee aid war's wander, as Leafin yielded to the ghost. Through thee an army grew thin, when thy lightning struck into slumber. Flanagan's son, and his number, high-walled Tara within. From the southward they fled out of Boyne of the rough feats of valour, when at thy stroke, catching pallor, Hnovna the noble dropped dead. Furious too was thy force, as the bolt from a black cloud's rattle, when in the front of the battle, Aelhill of Fallacourse. Never an hour of defeat hadst thou with the fair meadowed Carol. Just was he ever in quarrel, faithful in every feat, gladly danced by each day. Thy gleesome nights were unreckoned. Monarchs at sundown beckoned thee into combat away. When henceforth shalt thou curse, or to victory's goal be starting? With whom, since Carol's departing be bedded? For better or worse, weapon of hero on hero, fear not thou shalt ever lie rusted. Still for a champion trusted forth on his foes thou shalt spring. Proudest prize of the Gael shall glorious Nass repute thee. Finn of the feasts shall salute thee. Sword of the Carol, all hail! End of the Song of the Sword of Carol. This recording is in the public domain. King Ailill's Death by Whitley Stokes. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. From the Book of Leinster. I know who won the peace of God, the old King Ailill of the Ban, who fought beyond the Irish Sea all day against a Connaught clan. The king was routed in the flight. He muttered to his charioteer, "Look back, the slaughter, is it red? The slayers, are they drawing near?" The man looked back. The west wind blew dead clansmen's hair against his face. He heard the war shout of his foes, the death cry of his ruined face. The foes came darting from the height, like pine trees down a swollen fall, like heaps of hay in flood. His clan swept on or sank. He saw it all, and spake, "The slaughter is full red, and we may still be saved by flight." Then groaned the king, "No sin of theirs falls on my people here to-night. No sin of theirs, but sin of mine. For I was worst of evil kings, unrighteous, wrathful. Hurling down to death was shame or weaker things. Draw rein, and turn the chariot round. My face against the foeman bend. When I am seen and slain, mayhap the slaughter of my tribe will end." They drew and turned. Down came the foe. The king fell cloven on the sod. The slaughter then was stayed, and so King Ailill won the peace of God. End of King Ailill's death. This recording is in the public domain.
Rebel Mother's Lullaby by Shane Leslie. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Volume 1. LibriVox.org. Ah, rest to the morrow, for many the sorrow that waking will brew. Gone is thy brother, long must I rue. Hark not thy mother, rocking thee to, rocking thee fro, Lena Van Mo, Ireland's own woe. Never must keep children from sleep, Lena Van Mo. The clouds are fast creeping, and Mary is weeping her tears down the sky. Grey is the evening when Irishmen die. Hark not the keening, rest thee and lie, Lena Van Mo, Lena Van Mo. Far be the foe, ours is the strife, yours is dear life, Lena Van Mo. Earl Garrett is hiding, Lord Edward is riding, and fast is his reign. The horses are stamping over the plain. Hark not the tramping, turn thee again, Lena Van Mo, Lena Van Mo. Nestle down low, others may ride, you must abide, Lena Van Mo. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
O Hussey's Ode to the Maguire by James Clarence Mangan. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. From the Irish. Where is my chief, my master, this bleak night, Mavrone? Oh, cold, cold, miserably cold, is this bleak night for Hugh. Its showery, arrowy, speary sleet pierceth one through and through, pierceth one to me very bone. Rolls real thunder, or was that red, livid light only a meteor? I scarce know, but through that midnight dim the pitiless ice wind streams, except the hate that persecutes him. Nothing hath crueller venomy might. An awful, a tremendous night is this, meseems. The floodgates of the river of heaven, I think, have been burst wide. Down from the overcharged clouds, like unto headlong ocean's tide, descends grey raining roaring streams. Though he were even a wolf ranging the round green woods, though he were even a pleasant salmon in the unchainable sea, though he were a wild mountain eagle, he could scarce bear this sharp, sore sleet, these howling floods. Oh, mournful is my soul this night for Hugh Maguire. Darkly as in a dream he strays, before him and behind triumphs the tyrannous anger of the wounding wind. The wounding wind, that burns as fire. It is my bitter grief, it cuts me to the heart, that in the country of Clondarry this should be his fate. Oh, woe to me, where is he? Wandering, houseless, desolate, alone without or guide or chart. Mad dreams, I see just now his face, the strawberry bright, uplifted to the blackened heavens, while the tempestuous winds blow fiercely over and round him, and the smitting sleet shower blinds the hero of Galang to-night. Large, large affliction unto me and mine it is, that one of his majestic bearing, his fair stately form, should thus be tortured, and o'erborne, that this unsparing storm should wreak its wrath on head like his, that has great hand, so oft the avenger of the oppressed. Should this chill churlish night, perchance, be paralyzed by frost, while through some icicle-hung thicket, as one lorn and lost, he walks and wanders without rest, the tempest-driven torrent deluges the mead, it overflows the low banks of the rivulets and ponds, the lawns and pasture grounds lie locked in icy bonds, so that the cattle cannot feed. The pale bright margins of the streams are seen by none, rushes and sweeps along the untamable flood on every side. It penetrates and fills the cottagers' dwellings far and wide. Water and land are blent in one. Through some dark wood, mid bones of monsters, Hugh now strays, and he confronts the storm with anguished heart, but manly brow. Oh, what a sword wound to that tender heart of his were now a backward glance at peaceful days. But other thoughts are his, thoughts that can still inspire with joy and onward bounding hope the bosom of Macnee, thoughts of his warriors charging like bright billows of the sea, borne on the wind's wings, flashing fire, and though frost glaze to-night the clear dew of his eyes, and white ice gauntlets glove his noble, fine, fair fingers. Oh, a warm dress is to him that lightning garb he ever wore, the lightning of the soul, not skies. I've ran Hugh marched forth to the fight. I grieve to see him so depart, and lo, to-night he wanders frozen, rain-drenched, sad, betrayed. But the memory of the lime-white mansions his right hand hath laid in ashes warms the hero's heart. End of Hussey's Ode to the Maguire. This recording is in the public domain.
A Lament for the Red Earl by Richard Mahoney. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Volume 1. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. His grave is lone by Guadalquivir, and low is his young heart laid, where the quiet waves of the yellow river sleep in the linden shade. But hard and cold lies foreign mould beneath that royal head. Oh, had he fallen in the ringing battle out by Dungannon's side, where the Norman rout like driven cattle choked Avon's swirling tide, then should my grief find proud relief when I sang how the Red Earl died. But I am come to this pale river, weeping from far away, where my dear Avon rolls forever, pure as the dewy ray when soft and bright the summer night kisses the lingering day. Oh, lovingly that light is lying on grey Dunluce's hold, where the breath of night comes shoreward sighing, low sighing as of old, and soft asleep the shadows creep far up the spears of gold. But I must watch by this pale river, weary and lone and grey, and my grief's tide must roll forever, wearing this heart away, deep as the wave, dark as his grave, cold as my hero's clay. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Lament for the Death of Ogan Ruad O'Neill by Thomas Davis. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. Did they dare to slay Ogan Ruad O'Neill? Yes, they slew with poison him they feared to meet with steel. May God wither up their hearts, may their blood cease to flow, may they walk in living death who poison Ogan Ruad. Though it break my heart to hear say again the bitter words, from Derry against Cromwell he marched to measure swords. But the weapon of the Sassenach met him on his way, and he died at Cloch Uachta upon St. Leonard's Day. Wail, wail ye for the mighty one, wail, wail ye for the dead. Quench the hearth, and hold the breath, with ashes strew the head. How tenderly we loved him, how deeply we deplore. Holy Saviour, but think we shall never see him more. Sagest in the council was he, kindest in the hall. Sure we never won a battle, 'twas Owen won them all. Had he lived, our dear country had been free. But he's dead, and his slaves will ever be. O Farrell and Clanricarde, Preston and Red Hugh, Audley and MacMahon, ye valiant, wise and true. But what are ye all to our darling who is gone? The rudder of our ship was he, our castle's corner-stone. Wail, wail him through the island, weep, weep for our pride. Would that on the battlefield our gallant chief had died. Weep the victor of Bien Burb, weep him young and old. Weep for him, ye women, your beautiful lies cold. We thought you would not die, we were sure you would not go, and leave us in our utmost need to Cromwell's cruel blow. Sleep without a shepherd, when the snow shuts out the sky. Oh, why did you leave us, Eogan? Why did you die? Soft as woman's was your voice, O'Neill, bright was your eye. Oh, why did you leave us, O Eogan? Why did you die? Your troubles are all over, you're at rest with God on high. But we're slaves, and we're orphans, Eogan. Why did you die? End of the lament for the death of Eogan Rahado O'Neill. This recording is in the public domain. The Maiden City by Charlotte Elizabeth Tonner. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1. Read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Elaine Conway, England. In 1686, Richard Talbot was sent to Ireland by James II to command the army with the title of Earl of Tyrconnell, and a year later he was made Viceroy. He was a Catholic, it being the policy of James to restore to the Catholics many of their rights. Tyrconnell wished to introduce some Catholics into the corporations of the large cities. Derry absolutely refused to admit them, and when Lord Antrim was sent with 1,200 men to enforce the order, the pretences of Derry closed the gates in their faces. When he deposed King James, after landing in Ireland in 1689, marched to Derry, he was treated in the same way by the sturdy sons of the city, wherefore his swelling waters rolls northward to the main. Here Queen of Erin's daughters, fair Derry fixed her reign, a holy temple crowned her, and commerce graced her street, a rampart wall was round her, the river at her feet. And here she sat alone, boys, and looking from the hill, vowed the maiden on her throne, boys, would be a maiden still. From Antrim crossing over, in famous '88, a plumed and belted lover came to the ferry gate. She summoned to defend our sires and beardless race, who shouted "No surrender!" and slammed it in his face. Then in a quiet tone, boys, they told him 'twas their will that the maiden on her throne, boys, should be a maiden still. Next, crushing all before him, a kingly wooer came. The royal banner over him blushed crimson deep for shame. He showed the Pope's commission, nor dreamed to be refused. She pitied his condition, but begged to stand excused. In short, the fact is known, boys, she chased him from the hill. The maiden on her throne, boys, would be a maiden still. On our brave sires descending, 'twas then the tempest broke, their peaceful dwellings rending, mid blood and flame and smoke. That hallowed graveyard yonder smells with the slaughtered dead. O brothers, pause and ponder, it was for us they bled. And while their gift we own, boys, the fane that tops our hill, O the maiden on her throne, boys, shall be a maiden still. Nor wily tongue shall move us, nor tyrant arm affright. We'll look to one above us, who ne'er forsook the right, who will may crouch and tender the birthright of the free. Brothers, no surrender, no compromise for me. We want no barrier stone, boys, no gates to guard the hill. Yet the maiden on her throne, boys, shall be a maiden still. End of The Maiden City. This recording is in the public domain.
The Battle of the Boyne, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. July, the first of a morning fair. In 1690 famous, King William did his men prepare to fight with false King Seamus. King James he pitched his tents between, the lines for to retire. But King William threw his bomb balls in, and set them all on fire. Thereat revenge the Irish vowed upon King William's forces, and vehemently with cries did crowd, to check their forward courses. A ball from out their batteries flew, as our king he faced their fire. His shoulder knot away it shot, quoth he, pray come no nigher. Then straight his officers he did call, saying, Gentlemen, mind your station, and prove your valor one and all, before this Irish nation. My brazen walls let no man break, and your subtle foes you'll scatter. Let us show them today good English play, as we go over the water. Then horses and foot we marched amain, resolved their ranks to batter. But the brave Duke Schomberg he was slain, as he went over the water. Then King William cried, Feel no dismay at the losing of one commander, for God shall be our king today, and I'll be general under. Then stoutly we Boyne River crossed, to give the Irish battle. Our cannon to his dreadful course, like thunderclaps did rattle. In majestic mien our prince rode o'er, the stream ran red with slaughter, as with blow and shout we put to rout our enemies over the water. End of the Battle of the Boyne. This recording is in the public domain.
A Ballad of Sarsfield, or The Bursting of the Guns, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. This intercepting of Dick Incoll's siege train on its way to Limerick is one of the most famous episodes in the career of the gallant Patrick Sarsfield. Sarsfield rode out, the Dutch to rout, and to take and break their cannon. To mass went he at 3:30, and at 4 he crossed the Shannon. Tyrconnell slept, in dream his thoughts old fields of victory ran on, and the chieftains of Thomond in Limerick's towers slept well by the banks of the Shannon. He rode 10 miles and he crossed the ford, and couched in the wood and waited, till, left and right, on marched in sight that host which the true men hated. Charge, Sarsfield cried, and the green hillside, as they charged, replied in thunder. They rode o'er the plain, and they rode o'er the slain, and the rebel right lay under. He burned the gear the knaves held dear, for his king he fought, not plunder. With powder they crammed the guns, and rammed their mouths the red soil under. The spark flashed out like a nation's shout, the sound into heaven ascended. The hosts of the sky made to earth reply, and the thunders twain were blended. Sarsfield rode out, the Dutch to rout, and to take and break their cannon. A century after, Sarsfield's laughter was echoed from Dungannon. By Aubrey de Vere. End of A Ballad of Sarsfield, or The Bursting of the Guns. This recording is in the public domain. A Ballad of Athlone, Second Siege, or How They Broke Down the Bridge, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. When the Jacobite War was renewed, de Ginkle besieged Athlone, which was held by Saint Ruth. The gallant action described in the poem only delayed the taking of the town a short while. Does any man dream that a gale can fear? Of 1,000 deeds let him learn but one. The Shannon swept onward, broad and clear, between the Leaguers and broad Athlone. break down the bridge. 6 warriors rushed through the storm of shot and the storm of shell. With late but certain victory flushed, the grim Dutch gunners eyed them well. They wrenched at the planks mid a hail of fire. They fell in death, their work half done. The bridge stood fast, and nigher the foe swarmed darkly, densely on. Oh, who for Erin will strike a stroke? Who hurl yon planks while the waters roar? 6 warriors forth from their comrades broke, and flung them upon that bridge once more. Again at the rocking planks they dashed, and 4 dropped dead and 2 remained. The huge beams groaned, and the ark down crashed. 2 stalwart swimmers the margin gained. Saint Ruth in his stirrups stood up and cried, I have seen no deed like that in France. With a toss of his head, Sarsfield replied, They had luck, the dogs, 'twas a merry chance. Oh, many a year upon Shannon's side, they sang upon moor and they sang upon heath, of the twain that breasted that raging tide, and the 10 that shook bloody hands with death. By Aubrey de Vere. End of the Ballad of Athlone, Second Siege, or How They Broke Down the Bridge. This recording is the public domain. After the Battle of Aughrim. From the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Athlone fell. Saint Ruth retreated to Aughrim in Galway, where on July the 12th a decisive battle was fought. Saint Ruth was slain, and the Irish utterly defeated. No quarter was given by the English, so that the battle ended in wholesale and horrible slaughter. Night closed around the conqueror's way, and lightnings showed the distant hill, where those who lost that dreadful day stood few and faint, but fearless still. The soldier's hope, the patriot's zeal, forever dimmed, forever crossed. Oh, who shall say what heroes feel when all but life and honour's lost? The last sad hour of freedom's dream and valor's task moved slowly by, while mute they watched till morning's beam should rise and give them light to die. There is yet a world where souls are free, where tyrants taint not nature's bliss. If death that world's bright opening be, oh, who would live a slave in this? By Thomas Moore. End of After the Battle of Aughrim. This recording is the public domain.
A Farewell to Patrick Sarsfield. The Book of Irish Poetry Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. Recording by Chad Horner from Ballyclare in County Antrim, Northern Ireland, situated in the northeast of the island of Ireland. A farewell to Patrick Sarsfield from the Irish. Farewell, O Patrick Sarsfield, may luck be on your path. Your camp is broken up, your work is marred for years, but you go to kindle into flame the King of France's wrath, though you leave sick air in tears. Ouch, ouch one. May the white sun and moon rain glory on your head, all hero as you are, and holy man of God. To you the Saxons owe a many an hour of dread, in the land you have often trod. Ouch, ouch one. The Son of Mary guard you and bless you to the end. 'Tis altered is the time since your legions were astir, when at Cullen you were hailed as the conqueror and friend, and you crossed narrow water near Birr. Ouch, ouch one. I'll journey to the north, over mount, moor, and wave. 'Twas there I first beheld, drawn up in file and line, the brilliant Irish hosts. They were bravest of the brave, but alas, they scorned to combine. Ouch, ouch one. On the bridge of the Boyne was our first overthrow. By Stanley the next, for we paddled without rest. The third was at Aughrim. O Earl, thy woe is a sword in my bleeding breast. Ouch, ouch one. Oh, the roof above our heads, it was barbarously fired, while the black-orange guns blazed and bellowed around, and as volley followed volley, Colonel Mitchell inquired whether Lucan still stood his ground. Ouch, ouch one. But O'Kelly still remains to defy and to toil. He has memories that hell won't permit him to forget, and the sword that will make the blue blood flow like oil upon many an augurum yet. Och, Wynne, and I never shall believe that my fatherland can fall with the Burkes and the Dukes and the son of Royal James, and Talbot the captain, and Sarsfield above all, the beloved of damsels and dames. Och, Wynne. James Clarence Mangan. End of A Farewell to Patrick Sarsfield. This recording is in the public domain.
Fontenoy, 1745, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. 1. Before the Battle, Night. Oh, bad the march, the weary march, beneath these alien skies, but good the night, the friendly night that soothes our tired eyes. And bad the war, the tedious war that keeps us sweltering here, but good the hour, the friendly hour that brings the battle near, that brings us on the battle, that summons to their share the homeless troops, the banished men, the exiled sons of Clare. O little Corca-Baskin, the wild, the bleak, the fair, O little stony pastures, whose flowers are sweet if rare, O rough, the rude Atlantic, the thunderous, the wide, whose kiss is like a soldier's kiss which will not be denied. The whole night long we dream of you, and waking think we're there. Vain dream and foolish waking, we never shall see Clare. The wind is wild tonight, there's battle in the air. The wind is from the west, and it seems to blow from Clare. Have you nothing, nothing for us, loud brawler of the night? No news to warm our heartstrings, to speed us through the fight? In this hollow, star-pricked darkness, as in the sun's hot glare, in sun-tide, in star-tide, we thirst, we starve for Clare. Hark, yonder through the darkness, one distant rat-a-tat. The old foe stirs out there, God bless his soul for that. The old foe musters strongly, he's coming on at last, and Clare's brigade may claim its own wherever blows fall fast. Send us, ye western breezes, our full, our rightful share, for faith and fame and honor, and the ruined hearths of Clare. End of Fontenoy, 1745, Part 1. This recording is in the public domain. Fontenoy, 1745, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org. 2. After the battle, early dawn, Clare coast. Mary Mother, shield us. Say, what men are ye, sweeping past so swiftly on this morning sea? Without sails or rowlocks, merrily we glide home to Corca-Baskin on the brimming tide. Jesus save you, gentry! Why are you so white, sitting all so straight and still in this misty light? Nothing ails us, brother, joyous souls are we, sailing home together on the morning sea. Cousins, friends, and kinsfolk, children of the land, here we come together, a merry, rousing band, sailing home together from the last great fight, home to Clare from Fontenoy in the morning light. Men of Corca-Baskin, men of Clare's brigade, hearken, stony hills of Clare, hear the charge we made. See us come together, singing from the fight, home to Corca-Baskin in the morning light. End of Fontenoy, 1745, Part 2. This recording is in the public domain.
Clare's Dragoons by Thomas Davis, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by phone. Vive la, for Ireland's wrong, and vive la, for Ireland's right. Vive la, in the battle throng, for a Spanish steed and sabre bright. The brave old lord died near the fight, but for each drop he lost that night, a Saxon cavalier shall bite the dust before Lord Clare's dragoons. For never, when our spurs were set, and never, when our sabres met, could we the Saxon soldiers get to stand the shock of Clare's dragoons. Vive la, for the new brigade, vive la, the old one too. Vive la, the rose shall fade, and the shamrock shine for ever new. Another Clare is here to lead, the worthy son of such a breed. The French expect some famous deed when Clare leads on his bold dragoons. Our colonel comes from Brian's race, his wounds are in his breast and face. The gap of danger is still his place, the foremost of his bold dragoons. Vive la, the new brigade! Vive la, the old one too! Vive la, the rose shall fade, and the shamrock shine for ever new. There's not a man in the squadron here was ever known to flinch or fear, though first in charge, the last in rear, have ever been Lord Clare's dragoons. But see, we'll soon have work to do, to shame our boast or prove them true, for hither comes the English crew, to sweep away Lord Clare's dragoons. Vive la, for Ireland's wrong! Vive la, for Ireland's right! Vive la, in battled throng for a Spanish steed and sabre bright! O comrades, think how Ireland pines her exiled lords, her rifled shrines, her dearest hope, the ordered lines, and bursting charge of Clare's dragoons. Then fling your green flag to the sky, be Limerick your battle cry, and charge till blood floats fetlock high around the track of Clare's dragoons. Vive la, the new brigade! Vive la, the old one too! Vive la, the rose shall fade, and the shamrock shine for ever new. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Cremona by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. Read for LibriVox.org by phone. The French army, including a part of the Irish Brigade under Marshal Villeroy, held the fortified town of Cremona during the winter of 1702. Prince Eugene, with the imperial army, surprised it one morning, and owing to the treachery of a priest, occupied the whole city before the alarm was given. Villeroy was captured, together with many of the French garrison. The Irish, however, consisting of the regiments of Dillon and Burke, held a fort commanding the river gate, and defended themselves all day, in spite of Prince Eugene's efforts to win them over to his cause. Eventually, Eugene, being unable to take the post, was compelled to withdraw from the city. The Grenadiers of Austria are proper men and tall. The Grenadiers of Austria have scaled the city wall. They have marched from far away, ere the dawning of the day, and the morning saw the masters of Cremona. There's not a man to whisper, there's not a horse to neigh, of the footmen of Lorraine and the riders of Dupré. They have crept up every street, in the market-place they meet. They are holding every vantage in Cremona. The Marshal Villeroy, he has started from his bed. The Marshal Villeroy has no wig upon his head. I have lost my men, quoth he, and my men they have lost me, and I sorely fear we both have lost Cremona. Prince Eugene of Austria is in the market-place. Prince Eugene of Austria has smiles upon his face. Says he, our work is done, for the citadel is won, and the black and yellow flag flies o'er Cremona. Major Dan O'Mahony is in the barrack square, and just 600 Irish lads are waiting for him there. Says he, come in your shirt, and you won't take any hurt, for the morning air is pleasant in Cremona. Major Dan O'Mahony is at the barrack gate, and just 600 Irish lads will neither stay nor wait. There's Dillon, and there's Burke, and there'll be some bloody work ere the Kaiserlich shall boast they hold Cremona. Major Dan O'Mahony has reached the river fort, and just 600 Irish lads are joining in the sport. Come take a hand, says he, and if you will stand by me, then is glory to the man who takes Cremona. Prince Eugene of Austria has frowns upon his face, and loud he calls his galloper of Irish blood and race. MacDonald, ride, I pray, to your countrymen and say that only they are left in all Cremona. MacDonald he has reined his mare beside the river dike, and he has tied the parley flag upon a sergeant's pike. 6 companies were there, from Limerick and Clare, the last of all the guardians of Cremona. Now, Major Dan O'Mahony, give up the river gate, or Major Dan O'Mahony, you'll find it is too late. For when I gallop back, 'tis the signal for attack, and no quarter for the Irish in Cremona. And Major Dan he laughed. Faith, if what you say be true, and if they will not come until they hear again from you, then there will be no attack, for you're never going back, and we'll keep you snug and safely in Cremona. All the weary day the German stormers came, all the weary day they were faced by fire and flame. They have filled the ditch with dead, and the river's running red, but they cannot win the gateway of Cremona. All the weary day, again, the horsemen of Dupré and the footmen of Lorraine, Tav and Herberstein, and the riders of the Rhine. It's a mighty price they're paying for Cremona. Time and time they came with deep-mouthed German roar. Time and time they broke like the wave upon the shore. For better men were there from Limerick and Clare. And who will take the gateway of Cremona? Prince Eugene has watched, and he gnaws his nether lip. Prince Eugene has cursed as he saw his chances slip. Call off, he cried. It is nearing eventide, and I fear our work is finished in Cremona. Says Wauchope to Mac Olive, their fire is growing slack. Says Major Dan O'Mahony, it is their last attack. But who will stop the game while there's light to play the same, and to walk a short way with them from Cremona? And so they snarl behind him, and beg them turn and come. They have taken Neuburg standard, they have taken Diek's drum. And along the winding Po, beard on shoulder, stern and slow, the Kaiserlichs are riding from Cremona. Just 200 Irish lads are shouting on the wall. 400 more are lying who can hear no slogan call. But what's the odds of that? For it's all the same to Pat, if he pays his debt in Dublin or Cremona. Says General de Vaudreuil, you've done a soldier's work, and every tongue in France shall hear of Dillon and of Burke. Ask what you will this day, and be it what it may, it is granted to the heroes of Cremona. Why then, says Dan O'Mahony, one favour we entreat. We were called a little early, and our toilet's not complete. We've no quarrel with the shirt, but the breeches wouldn't hurt, for the evening air is chilly in Cremona. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Irish Colonel by Sir Arthur Conan Doyle, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by phone. Said the king to the colonel, the complaints are eternal, that you Irish give more trouble than any other corps. Said the colonel to the king, this complaint is no new thing, for your foemen, sire, have made it 100 times before. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Oh, the Sight Entrancing by Thomas Moore, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by phone. Oh, the sight entrancing, when morning's beam is glancing o'er files arrayed with helm and blade, and plumes in the gay wind dancing. When hearts are all high beating, and the trumpet's voice repeating that song whose breath may lead to death, but never to retreating. Then, if a cloud comes over the brow of sire or lover, think 'tis the shade by victory made, whose wings right o'er us hover. Oh, the sight entrancing, when the morning beam is glancing o'er files arrayed with helm and blade, and plumes in the gay wind dancing. Yet 'tis not helm nor feather, for ask yon despot whether his plumed bands could bring such hands and hearts as ours together. Leave pomps to those who need 'em, give man but heart and freedom, and proud he braves the gaudiest slaves that crawl where monarchs lead 'em. The sword may pierce the beaver, stone walls in time may sever, 'tis mind alone, worth steel and stone, that keeps men free for ever. Oh, that sight entrancing, when the morning's beam is glancing o'er files arrayed with helm and blade, and in freedom's cause advancing. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Burial of Sir John Moore by Charles Wolfe, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by phone. Not a drum was heard, not a funeral note, as his course to the rampart we hurried. Not a soldier discharged his farewell shot o'er the grave where our hero we buried. We buried him darkly at dead of night, the sods with their bayonets turning, by the struggling moonbeam's misty light, and the lantern dimly burning. No useless coffin enclosed his breast, not in sheet or in shroud we wound him, but he lay like a warrior taking his rest, with this martial cloak around him. Few and short were the prayers we said, and we spoke not a word of sorrow, but we steadfastly gazed on the face that was dead, and we bitterly thought of the morrow. We thought as we hollowed his narrow bed, and smoothed down his lonely pillow, that the foe and the stranger would tread o'er his head, and we far away on the billow. Lightly they'll talk of the spirit that's gone, and o'er his cold ashes upbraid him, but little he'll reck if they let him sleep on in the grave where a Briton has laid him. But half of our heavy task was done when the clock struck the hour for retiring, and we heard the distant and random gun that the foe was suddenly firing. Slowly and sadly we laid him down from the field of his fame fresh and gory. We carved not a line, and we raised not a stone, but we left him alone in his glory. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. Ways of War by Lionel Johnson, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by phone. A terrible and splendid trust heartens the host of Innisfail. Their dream is of the swift sword thrust, a lightning glory of the gale. Croagh Patrick is the place of prayers, and Tara the assembling place, but each sweet wind of Ireland bears the trump of battle on its race. From Dursey Isle to Donegal, from Howth to Achill, the glad noise rings, and the airs of glory fall, or victory crowns their fighting joys. A dream, an ancient dream! Yet ere peace come to Innisfail, some weapons on some field must gleam, some burning glory fire the gale. That field may lie beneath the sun, fair for the treading of a host. That field in the realms of thought be won, and armed minds do their uttermost. Some way to faithful Innisfail shall come the majesty and awe of martial truth that must prevail to lay on all the eternal law. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. The Sword by Michael Joseph Barry, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by phone. What rights the brave? The sword. What frees the slave? The sword. What cleaves in twain the despot's chain, and makes his gyves and dungeon vain? The sword. Then cease thy proud task never, while rests a link to sever. Guard of the free will cherish thee, and keep thee bright for ever. What checks the knave? The sword. What smites to save? The sword. What wreaks the wrong, unpunished long, at last upon the guilty strong? The sword. Then cease thy proud task never, while rests a link to sever. Guard of the free will cherish thee, and keep thee bright forever. What shelters right? The sword. What makes it might? The sword. What strikes the crown of tyrants down, and answers with its flash their frown? The sword. Then cease thy proud task never, while rests a link to sever. Guard of the free will cherish thee, and keep thee bright forever. Still be thou true, good sword. Will die or do, good sword. Leap forth to light if tyrants smite, and trust our arms to wield thee right, good sword. Yes, cease thy proud task never, while rests a link to sever. Guard of the free will cherish thee, and keep thee bright forever. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Soldier's Wake by Timothy Daniel Sullivan, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by phone. And this is all she has to lay tonight upon the snowy sheets, before the friends who come the way, and sighing, take their humble seats. This medal, bravely, dearly won, poor token of her gallant son. But over this, as naught beside, of him she loved to her remains. The lights are lit, the keen is cried, and women croon their saddest strains, while men who knew his boyhood well say foes went down before he fell. These clasps and medal, only these, for this she nursed and loved him long. She rocked him softly on her knees, and filled his earth with pleasant song, and saw him with a mother's pride grow up and strengthen by her side. Till, bright with manhood's glowing charms, he in his turn her nurse became. He clasped her in his manly arms, and fondly propped her drooping frame. Her step grew weak, her eye grew dim, but then she lived and moved in him. He went, he joined the deadly fight, his true heart loved her not the less. But these are all she has tonight, to light and cheer her loneliness. These silver honours, dearly won, poor tokens of her gallant son. But even these, tomorrow morn, when lights burn out and friends depart, shall round her withered neck be worn, shall lie upon her weary heart, till death, for his dear memory's sake, and then shall deck another wake. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. A Song of Defeat by Stephen Gwynne, from the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, read for LibriVox.org by Dhun. Not for the lucky warriors, the winner at Waterloo, or him of a newer name, whom loud-voiced triumphs acclaim victor against a few. Not for these, O air, I build in my heart today the lay of your sons and you. I call to your mind today, out of the mists of the past, many a hull and many a mast, black in the bight of the bay, over against Ben Adair, and the lip of the ebbing tideway all, red with the life of the gale and gall, and the Danes in a headlong slaughter sent, and the women of Ayr keening for Brian slain at his tent. Mother, O grey, sad mother, love with the troubled eyes, for whom I marshal today the sad and splendid array, calling the lost to arise, as some queen's courtier unbidden might fetch her gems to the sun, praising the glory and glow of all that was hers to show. Ere, love Brian well, for Brian fought and he fell, but Brian fought and he won. God, that was long ago. Nearer and dearer to you, ere Maubron, listen to a name of your own, a sweet name, my sorrow, are the suns that flamed and faded in a night that had no morrow. I call to your mind red Hugh, and the castle's broken ward. I call to your mind O'Neill, and the fight at the Yellow Ford, and the ships afloat on the main, bearing O'Donnell to Spain, for the flame of his quick and leaping soul to be quenched in a venomed bowl, and the shore by the Swilly's shadows, and the earls pushed out through the foam, and O'Neill in his grave clothes lying, with the wish of his heart in Ireland, and his body cold in Rome. I call to your mind Ben Burr, and the stubborn Ulster steel, and the triumph of Owen Roe, Clonmel, and the glorious stand of the younger Hugh O'Neill, and Owen dead at Derry, and Cromwell loosed on the land. I call to your mind brave Sarsfield, and the battle in Limerick street, the mine and the shattered wall, and the battered breach held good, and William full in retreat. And at the end of all, wild geese rising on clamorous wing to follow the flight of an alien king, and the hard-won treaty broke, and the elder faith oppressed, and the blood, but not for Ireland, red upon Sarsfield's breast, ended the roll of the great and famous leaders of armies, the shining lamps of the Gael, who wrestled awhile with fate, and broke the battle of foemen, ere the end left widowed Ayr, lone with her desolate wail. Lone, yet forsaken, out of no far dim past call I the names of the last who strove and suffered for Ayr. Saddest and nearest of all, see how they flock to the call, the troop of famous felons, who won no joy of the sword, who tasted of no reward, but the faint flushed dawn of a wan sick hope, and over whose lives there dangled ever the shame of the rope. I call to your mind Lord Edward, Tone with his mangled throat, Emmet high on the gallows, O'Brien, Mitchell, and Meagher, aye, and of newer note, names that e'er will not forget, though some have faded in far-off lands, and some have passed by the hangman's hands, and some are breathing yet. Not for these, O air, not for these or thee, pipers, trumpeters, blaring loud, the throbbing drums and the colours flying, and the long-drawn muffled roar of the crowd, the voice of a human sea. Theirs it is to inherit fame of a finer grace, in the self-renewing spirit and the untamable heart ever defeated, yet undefeated, of thy remembering race. For their names are treasured apart, and their memories green and sweet, on every hillside and every mart, in every cabin, in every street, of a land where to fail is more than to triumph, and victory less than defeat. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain. End of the Book of Irish Poetry, Part 1, edited and translated by Alfred Perceval GRAVES.